changing industries is hugely exciting. It's something I've done 4 times and with success in each scenario. Hey team, welcome back to the channel. As always, I thought today we could talk about something that I know pretty well, and it's changing industries. It's something I'm asked about quite a lot. I think a lot of people harbour ambitions of moving from one kind of job to the next, but actually a lot of the time they love a change of direction. They realise what they're doing isn't what they want to do, or actually that they think the time is right for a fresh start, and actually they want to experience something that they don't know, because so many people fall into a career or an industry and just go from company to company doing very similar roles, and they don't get the nourishment and the experience of trying something new. And I suppose the feeling of being out of your depth at times and tackling things that you don't feel that you know too well. And it's something I've been asked about quite a lot, so I thought I'd talk about what it feels like. Well, the first reason that always comes to mind, and I said this in the recruitment video and I stand by it, valuability above anything else.
It's a lot easier to rein in a stallion than it is to flog a donkey. A lot easier to rein in a stallion than it is to flog a donkey.
Experience comes with time, skills are transferable, ability is not taught. Ability is something that is inherent within you. If you have a natural aptitude for something, you can hone that, but if it's in you, it's in you. So if you are recruiting, just because they don't necessarily have the necessary experience for the role, if it is a role that does not directly require previous experience, clearly you can't be things like doctors if you've not done it before, but picking someone from outside, if they fit the criteria personality wise and they've got that special something about them, they will pick it up. But actually a lot of what I'll talk about is from the point of view of the person changing industries. If you know you have an inherent ability, it is ultimately transferable. Regardless of the career you go into, one product can be the next, one industry can be the next. It's about you arming yourself with the knowledge, what am I going to be faced, what are the things I need to know, what are relevant in the industry that I'm going into. But I keep saying it, and I'll say it in probably many more videos to come. Valuability above everything else.
It's a lot easier to rein in a stallion than it is to flog a donkey. A lot easier to rein in a stallion than it is to flog a donkey.
We all have a yearning to learn new things. Self-education is one of the best parts of life. We go to school, we go to university, we learn things, but actually your learning should never stop there. Actually, that's where it should start. Once you get into the real world and you're learning things that are practically applicable rather than what you've learned in a kind of education environment, actually that's when the most learning happens. As long as you keep your mind open to change, open to learning, actually a change of industry, even if it's a sideways moving progression, it is a fresh start, because actually it gives you that hunger back, it gives you that drive. And coming back to the point of view of an employer, you're going to get someone that's hungrier than anybody else. They're desperate to prove themselves. They will be the first in, the last one out, and they will be determined that they are not found out by that industry or have the imposter syndrome that some of you know about. That is super critical. You will create a fire inside that person where they will not let you down.
Never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you.
Another big thing to remember is never shortchange yourself as the employee, or again as the employer. Never do it. Just because you haven't done it before doesn't mean the skills that you have aren't transferable. So if I talk about my career, I'm not a chef, I'm not a great cook. So that would suggest that I can't manage football stadiums where one of the key roles is head chefs. You have experts for expert jobs, but actually just because you don't directly know how to cook food doesn't mean that you can't manage a food-based business. You will pick it up, you will learn margins, you will learn quality of food, you will learn sourcing. All those things are just another product. They're just another set of learnings. But actually, it comes back to the very first point in the video. It comes back to the ability. If you've got the desire and the hunger to understand, coupled with the ability to understand, you're going to go far. Another big thing, and I do believe in this, is you should try and do something that scares you every day. The idea of doing these kind of vlogs, to me, was quite a scary thing. It had been mentioned to me to do it. But actually, the liberation of doing things that take you out of your comfort zone is where the best experiences are found. It's the excitement, the buzz, the adrenaline, all those things that make life so good. That's what a change in industry can do for you, because you're going in and experiencing new things, new technologies, new products, new environments, a new way of working. Whereas typically, if you've always worked in catering, all you are changing, if you just change your job, is the four walls that you work in. New carpets, new walls, new teammates, new colleagues. But the day-to-day life's going to be the same very quickly. Once you get over what new feels like, actually you're back to the job that you previously left, either at a higher or a sideways move. And a change of career, a change of industry actually is hugely liberating for your career. It's not to be confused with bouncing around, company hopping and never staying in one place. But make yourself the expert. Arm yourself with the necessary skills to pick things up in that industry, and never jump. If you've made the wrong decision, you've gone into the wrong industry, do not be afraid to make that mistake. Gone are the days where you had to be in every company for 5 to 6 years. As I say, I'm not advocating bouncing around. You need to be able to demonstrate loyalty and consistency and performance over a prolonged period of time. But once you've armed yourself with the skills and you understand that you have that ability, never be frightened to take on the new thing. Never be frightened to jump into a new project. And ultimately, industry is just another word to categorise something that's different. That's all it is. But work is work. So if I compare this to my career and the things that I've done, I started out in the catering department at a football club, and over time I moved my way up to become the general manager, but in the catering department. When I moved on to my next football club, which was Leicester City Football Club, at that point I had catering, but a big part of that was events. It was a small part of Sheffield United, a big part of Leicester City Football Club. Then I inherited the exciting subject matter that is cleaning, security, and all of these parts you learn. As the general manager, I didn't necessarily know every single part of it, but every time I thought I could make incremental improvements in the services or the facilities that we were offering, or ultimately the driver for me, the end game, which was the profits of the company, you took more and more things under your wing. You were a capable leader, always value ability over everything else. So I thought, if I can understand catering, why couldn't I understand the basics of security? Why can't I understand the basics of cleaning? These are not overly complicated things. You still require people that know what they're doing, but all I'm doing is managing those people. So for me, taking those things under my wing felt natural. Some would argue that was a change again, but to me it didn't feel like that. It felt like natural progression. And then I started managing multiple sites. I went from football, I also was doing cricket at the same time, and people might go, ooh, football to cricket, it's still a stadium. There is still grass outside. There are still fans that turn up. They might hit a ball with a bat rather than kick it with their feet, but the principles of the job, the non-sporting side, which is what I always specialised in, was still events, it was still catering, it was still organising mass events. But it was arguably a different industry because I'd moved from football to cricket, but I was actually doing the two in tandem. And then the big change going to the Rico Arena was I was in charge of the entire stadium, minus the elements for the council, hotels, exhibition centres, the conference centre, the sporting activities, be it Coventry City when they came back, Wasps when they took over. It was a very varied role, and it was an elevated position where you were overseeing multiple things, most of which we'd never done before. I've never worked in the hotel industry. Maybe we'll never ever do it again. But actually, just because it's new doesn't mean it should frighten you, because actually picking up new skills is no different to having a new job. You might kid yourself that because you know the subject matter, the industry, that actually it makes it easier. You've still got to pick up new cultures, new teamworks, new ways of working. So if you're going to change, you might as well truly change and actually follow your passions. And passion is the big part of why I think you should change industries. So don't do it all the time, but follow what you're passionate about. Understand what your skills are, what your net skills, your abilities are. And if they're transferable, which in the main they are, go after the jobs that excite you. Go after the jobs that you're hungry for, because the desire for change, the desire for new, will actually provide you with the motivation to excel in that job. And if, like me, you find yourself in something that you loved, so when I found myself in stadiums, I did 8 years there, and for me the drive was bigger stadiums, taking greater say in what was going on in that building, to the point where you were in control on a day-to-day basis of what was going on in that. For me, that was the drive. But when I achieved everything I felt I could at that point, for me it was, right, what's next? And that led me to esports. It still sounds like a change of industry, and it was, but principally there was events underpinning it all, and I understood events. So I thought, I might not be the world's largest gamer, but I've played computer games. My skills are transferable, and above all else, I believe in my ability, and my ability will lead me to the inevitability that I will pick up what is going on in this industry. But I will work harder than anyone else to ensure that I'm an expert in the subject matter that I am managing a business in. So changing industries actually is not as scary as you think, because if you're going to have a new job, you're already signing up for a level of change. So why should the industry be a scarier change than changing who your teammates are or your colleagues are? It's all change. When it comes down to the choice as an individual of changing industry or of the employer, and you're invariably asking yourself why, either as the interviewer or the interviewee, if you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. And if you're sat in a room interviewing or being interviewed, it's because you're looking for a change. You're looking for something new. Someone's moved on, or things aren't working the way you thought they would, so you need to freshen up the team. If you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. So if you're looking to change, the best thing you can do is go for the change. Someone walks into the room, great CV, talk well, been there and done it. Industry veterans, you know what you're going to get from that person, and that might ultimately be what you're looking for. But if you're actually looking for a change, then go with the person with the most ability. Their experience doesn't have to necessarily stack up. They won't be able to hit the ground running, but they will pick it up, and in the long run they will offer your company much, much more. And if you're the person that's lucky enough to be picked and allowed to move industries, as I keep saying throughout the video, you'll work harder than anyone else to ensure that you validate the decision that you made and the employer made. If you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. All that represents you up until the point of being interviewed is a piece of paper, a set of experiences. Never be lazy with your applications. Never think that you can have a catch-all statement that means an employer is going to take you seriously. As employers, we get hundreds of CVs. Take your application serious, particularly if you're looking to change industries. If you are looking to change industries, providing that the process allows it or the recruiter allows it, a covering note, explain your motivations, explain why you're different, face into the facts that you don't have the relevant experience for the job, but lay out what your abilities are, lay out why you believe you're the best fit for the job, despite the fact that you may not necessarily have worked in that industry before. Make sure you give yourself the best chance at standing out. Those with ability, those that believe, will always shine. Give yourself the opportunity to shine. Do not allow yourself to go into a generic interview process with a generic set of responses and a generic CV. If you are looking to change industries, or an employer is looking for someone to change industries, you are looking for that difference, that thing that stands out above anything else. And to change industries is not necessarily easy, because there is a level of unemployment, there's people moving companies all the time, and the easiest option is to do what you've always done. What we're here talking about is not wanting to get what you always got. As the employer or as the employee. So make sure if you're going to do something different, you are different. You set off with your best foot forward, covering note, and you explain who you are. And when you get in the room, you thank them for the opportunity, because you know your experience is not necessarily relevant to the job. But here is why I'm going to demonstrate that I'm the most credible person for this job. And talk about your successes. And then wherever possible, relate them to where you think you're going into. Clearly you're not going to know the subject matter, but the point is, if you can demonstrate projects that you've overseen, companies that you've run to a very, very, very successful level, then ultimately all of the skills that are required to deliver success in a project or a business are totally transferable. That's why when you see people at the top of the tree, when you hit MD, CEO, executive level positions, actually changing industries is commonplace, because it's widely accepted at that level. Once you are capable of running a company of tens or hundreds of millions, all your trading at that point is product for product, or business type for business type. Industry becomes less relevant. You see people moving from tech firms to retail into product into experiences, because actually at that level what companies are looking for is, does that person match my culture? Have they run big business before? Have they run a public entity before if it's a publicly listed company? Have they had senior management experience? Have they turned businesses round before? Have they run companies that have hit X EBITDA? It becomes much more about the person's ability. At a certain level, experience is neutralised. When you are trying to change industries, as we come kind of down the ladder, all you need to do is balance it for yourself. You need to be able to demonstrate that all of your skills, like in the CEO world, are totally transferable. If I was a project manager here, I'll pick up what we do in this industry, in this company, and I'll be able to project manage just as well there. I'm driven by deadlines, I'm a competent worker, happy to work as a team, but I'm highly motivated. All these things are totally transferable to what you want me to do. I do not have to have been in this industry in order to achieve it. But if you're lucky enough to get in, actually take advantage of being the new person. Take advantage of being the person not from the industry. There's no such thing as a silly question, so ask them. Challenge the status quo. Keep saying it. If you do what you've always done, you get what you've always got. Nothing makes me more cross when I go into a company than when someone tells me, yeah, but you've not been in this industry before. It's just not how we do it. I don't care. Just because that's how you always do it doesn't mean it's correct. So if you're lucky enough to change industries, you invariably have a fresh perspective, but you only have that fresh perspective for a number of weeks, maybe a number of months, before you become institutionalised or part of that culture. If you're going in with fresh eyes, take advantage. That's your moment to shine. Challenge the status quo, as I say. Question what's going on. Get to grips with why it's different. And actually, if it doesn't seem right, just because you've never done it before, it probably isn't right. Because if someone can't articulate to you why it doesn't make any sense to you, it's because it's always been done like that, not because it's the best way, not because it's the most sensible approach. So challenge. Never be afraid. If you are new, you get to play the new card, because if actually the question you asked happens to be wrong, you're new. If you ask a question and you happen to be right, you are the genius that's transferred from one industry to another. You're the visionary. You're the one that spotted something that nobody else did. So there's no risk to you. You can either play the new card I didn't know, or you have the opportunity to be the hero of the situation. So it's a really important point that when you do change industries, don't be timid, don't sit back, don't think I've got to learn everything, ask questions. immerse yourself, self-educate, become the expert, but challenge the status quo. It's your opportunity to stand out and look at things from a perspective that the people in the company will not have done before, particularly if they're industry veterans. That is your moment to shine. Ultimately, what I'm saying here is never be afraid. I've said it in so many other videos. Never be driven by fear. Be driven by the opportunity that success can bring you. Be motivated by the success that may present itself to you. So I'll end the video as I started the video. Changing industries is hugely exciting. It's something I've done 4 times, and with success in each scenario. I've also had my own businesses, and as you've seen in other videos, I've gone on to found others. In every job I've been to and every business I've gone into, they have not yet been in a consistent industry, because the industry doesn't matter to me. What I'm passionate about matters to me. Where the opportunities lie is what matters to me. If I go into something and I think I can spot a gap in the market, or I see something that doesn't make sense to me, I see opportunity. And so for me, changing industries has never been changing industries. It's just changing a job. I have belief in my ability. I also, as time went on, had a track record of success. So if anyone asked me why I was changing industries, I would say, as far as I see it, I'm not. I'm changing jobs. I have a set of skills that are hugely transferable that I think can offer your organisation a huge amount. And here's a set of achievements that I've had that I don't believe the industry is relevant. I think they stand alone as achievements on their own. And most of you watching this have a set of achievements in your career that are totally transferable. So never be afraid to do it. Never be afraid to change. If you're looking for a new job, you're already looking for change. So you might as well truly embrace the change and go where your passions lie. I really am quite passionate about the idea of not being limited by boundaries that you create yourself. Don't look at it as a change in industry, just look at it as a change of job. It's an opportunity to show a new collection of people the skills that you have and the benefits that you can bring that industry or that organisation. Challenge the status quo, be brave, be excited, and go out there and do some great things. So that's it for today. Appreciate your time as always. Stay safe out there, take care, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.